Never have Louisiana football fans cared more about events happening in Mississippi more than they do this weekend. Sure, there's the Egg Bowl on Friday, but sometime between the end of that game and Saturday around noon, we should find out what's next for Ole Miss football coach Lane Kiffin. How long we'll be able to call him that? We'll find out. Is that when he can change his visor from Rebels blue and red to Tigers purple and gold? Boy, they're already being set off in Oxford. We asked WDSU sports anchor Fletcher Mackel all the tough questions this morning, including Lane Kiffin's next destination, how to fix the Saints' putrid red zone offense, how to make the Pelicans relevant again, and whether Tulane can remain focused on the task at hand now that it appears as if we know what's next for Coach John Summerall following the Waves final game. Those are some really tough questions. Well, yeah, you might have a turkey in the oven, but we'll have one basting for the next 90 minutes on your screen of choice. Get the stuffing ready and pull up a chair. The Dattitude podcast, well, it starts right now.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, dat? So we ready to go this morning. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. You got the turkey. You got the green bean casserole. You're about to have live football all day tomorrow. You even got Aunt Mabel's desserts. Now all you need is Dattitude, episode number 443, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, November the 26th, 2025. In case you live in a cave or you've baked your head in an oven with the turkey, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I bet you thought I forgot about Aunt Mabel, didn't you? If you know about Aunt Mabel, you go way back. I mean, you go way, way, way back. You know what I'm talking about. Little Aunt Mabel's fruitcake back when I used to do the picks, when I actually used to write the picks. I used to have my NFL Pick'em column, and people would, actually had followers of that thing. I don't know. That seems like forever ago. I miss Aunt Mabel. I at least miss talking about Aunt Mabel, that's for sure. Who is this clown? Who is this turkey? I'm Jim Derry. I go 35 years back. Aunt Mabel doesn't go back with, I haven't talked about Aunt Mabel in columns for 35 years, but I go back 35 years in the New Orleans sports media scene. And you know what's special about this show, if you're new to the show and you got, you're off and you're just scrambling around seeing what's going on, you type in your comment, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, and or if you're watching on X. Gabe says they come through. I've yet to see an X comment come through. He says they do. Someone type in a comment on X. We have hundreds of comments every show, and I'm not exaggerating. Hundreds with an S on the end, not 100. Hundreds of comments on every show. I've yet to see an X comment through, but let's see if one comes through. So anyway, what we do here every Monday, Wednesday, and usually Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. But I got a program note coming up for you in a minute. You can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. and my email, jim@jimderry.com. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. Fletcher Mackel is coming on in a little bit. It's been a little while since we've talked to Fletcher. He's going to come on, and I just thought Fletcher was good to when you're talking about running the gamut and talking about everything. Garland Gillen, great for that. Fletcher Mackel's fantastic at that. He is a big Pelicans guy too, and we haven't talked enough about the Pels. So we are actually going to delve just a little bit into the Pels world a little bit. But with the lead of the show today, I'm going to give you the odds on from Bet Online. Look, I gave you the odds before, so why would I change now? Just because they've changed, I'm going to give you the offshore odds. The only place you can bet them, by the way, for whether Lane Kiffin is going to be the next coach at LSU. Seems like most people, Gabe's typed in something. He's got something from On3. We didn't poll. On3 polled media members. I'm going to give the results of that poll that Gabe just typed in for me in a little bit. Everybody thinks it's a done deal. I got some Florida fans pissed off at me last week, by the way. Somebody said, everyone is saying Lane Kiffin's going to LSU. Like, yeah, everyone who's relevant is saying it. Lane Kiffin's going to LSU. He got really mad. He obviously a Florida fan. Well, Florida fans, they're the only. It's like Matt Moscona said, and he's been saying for multiple weeks now. I mean, I know I'm still not 100% believing it. I'm telling you, I'm going to 100% believe it when he's actually on the podium with either his visor or his purple and gold tie or whatever the hell he's going to wear up there. And, and he and Landry can go stand up there and with her boyfriend, Mr. Weeks, and whatever. Good. I mean, if it happens, it happens. Well, I'll deal with what I think after the fact. I don't know. I'm going to get in, you know what I think about Lane Kiffin. You regulars know. But the Florida fans, they're not buying it. Like Matt said, you ask LSU fans who's going to be the next coach at LSU, and they say Lane Kiffin. You ask Ole Miss fans who's going to be the next coach at LSU, and they say Lane Kiffin. You ask media members who they think the next coach of LSU is going to be, and they say Lane Kiffin. You ask Florida fans, and they'll tell you it ain't going to be Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin's coming up. They still think that. They still do. I was reading social media this morning. They still believe that Lane Kiffin is going to be the next coach in Florida. And we got Florida fans in the chat. Please, by all means, leave your comments. We're going to show some in just a minute. So anyway, Fletcher Mackel is coming on. And obviously most of the show today, as you saw in the title slide, is going to be about LSU and Lane Kiffin. Again, we will dive into Tulane. We will dive into the Saints. I got some numbers on you for the Saints red zone offense. And y'all know that one of my biggest problems with the Saints and what it's been has been that they have just been stanky. And it wasn't just Rattler. Now it's Chuck. Maybe it's Kellen Moore. So anyway, 2-9. A lot of blame to go around, right? I also, yesterday I guest hosted Eric Asher's Inside New Orleans show. You can find it on, I think you can find it in Spotify, all the regular podcast places, I believe. But anyway, I might talk a little bit about this here today. I spent some time yesterday talking about Alvin Kamara and some of his numbers. We may get into that if I can remember to get into that with Fletcher because his numbers are about half of what they've been. Half. I mean, it's in my opinion, it's time for him to go bye-bye. NOLA.com had a story up kind of talking about what it would take cap-wise, what it would do to the Saints. It actually would be a relief for next year if they cut him, made him a post-June 1 cut. Or do they have the cojones to cut Alvin Kamara? That's what I want to know. This team is loyal to a fault. And when I say to a fault, I mean to a big, giant, gaping, oozing fault. Okay? That's how big of a fault, it's a fault. I mean, look, I'm all about loyalty. You know me. I'm an old school guy. I know companies have not been, I'm not going to mention any names, who I'm talking about. But companies have been unloyal to me in the past. So it sucks when, you don't feel like you're wanted. But there's also a point in a line that has to be drawn somewhere when it's how about the other people that are loyal to you? How about the fan base that's loyal? Where do you draw the line? When look, I love Alvin Kamara as much as the next guy. What he's given to this franchise, I think he's become the number one running back in the history of this team. And that's saying something because, Deuce is loved too. Is it Deuce? Is it Alvin Kamara? I don't know. It's pretty close, right? It's one of those two guys. They're what name? They're 1A and 1B or 1A and 1AA, however you want to look at it. But Alvin Kamara is going to be 31 next year. We've told you time and time again. Again, I'm going to get into some of those numbers, I think. If we don't do it with Fletcher, maybe we'll do it after the fact or half time before. We'll see. But that's something I talked about on Eric Asher's show yesterday, and I want to bring it up here. So that's the Saints talk. Pelicans, their schedule coming up. I mean, they won a game Monday night. Woohoo! They scored 142 points. Guess what? Zion Williamson played. Wow! And he scored 27 points. When's the next time? Is he going to get hurt walking up to the buffet table tomorrow? That's my big question. That's right. I said that out loud. I asked it. Zion Williamson going to hurt himself going to, he's not going to get turkey. He's going to be going for the pie probably. We'll see. I don't know. I can't believe that's really mean, Derry. Yeah. Okay. the fat, calling the fat. Oh, he's not fat anymore. Whatever. Anyway, it's frustrating, dude. The Pelicans are so damn frustrating. They really are. I mean, they're to me, they got rid of their coach, and I know it's not going to be overnight. I understand changes are going to be overnight, but they're 3-15 now. 3-15. They started out last year 5-29. Are they going to do that again? They'll probably be better than that, but still, I mean, at what point is it's just getting sick, man? So we'll talk about that with Fletcher. Tulane is John Summerall. I mean, look, John Summerall is now, we talk about odds, and when you want to talk about betonline.ag, I looked at John Summerall's odds this morning. He's almost, certainly going to Auburn is what BetOnline says. That's even more of a certainty than Lane Kiffin, according to these offshore odds. It is minus 500 to be the next coach at Auburn. What about Ole Miss, though? If Ole Miss loses Lane Kiffin, which we all assume they're going to, are they going to get in the running for John Summerall? Anyway, the big question is, how does Ole Miss stay focused? How does Tulane stay focused? I mean, these are questions that I want to know. How does anybody? I mean, look, Tulane's got some big games coming up. We talk about Tulane, and they're going to beat Charlotte this week. That's great. But then they're going to have to play North Texas, most likely North Texas, who's playing Temple this week. If North Texas beats Temple, if Tulane beats Charlotte, then Tulane and North Texas will play in the American Conference Championship. However, you want to talk about coaches that are distracted? North Texas has one of those too. Their coach, Eric Morris, who was hired, announced yesterday, he's going to be the next coach at Oklahoma State, who's been absolutely god-awful for 2 years. They finally got rid of Mullet Boy. They have just been horrendous. And now, Eric Morris, is North Texas going to be distracted? It's this whole college football coaching carousel. Is this what we're going to see every year now at this time of year? I know we have to some degree in the past, but there's so much crap going on in college football besides the playoffs coming up. And you got recruiting. Early recruiting period is next week. You got the early period of the portal coming up in January. 2-3 weeks of January when the playoffs aren't even over yet? And then you got all these coaching change. I mean, it's insane. Let's see. Let's go to the comment stream here because Fletcher is coming on in about 5 minutes. So we got to get to some of the comments. I know how many regulars are probably here this morning, including Charles Mangus. Good morning. Great win for the Pels. Really? Is there such thing as a great win? Can the Pelicans have I'm sorry, Charles. I'm not trying to be mean, but I don't think the Pelicans have a great win when you're 3-15. Sorry. I'm glad they won, and I hope they string together a few more, but let's get a little closer to 500 before we call anything a great win. That's my thing. Christopher Crump, happy Thanksgiving. Who dat for life? Hope the coaching gets some improvement. That's definitely the topic when you're talking about Saints this morning. For sure. Kyle Sherman, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Roll wave. Yes, Callie, good morning, and go Tigers. Mark Gapsky is here. Good morning. You driving to San Diego and listening to the show. Have a great Thanksgiving. Will you be safe driving out to California? When you pass by Petco Park, maybe you could take the gree off. Just kidding. You know what I mean. Neil McKendall, how are you, Coach? I haven't talked to you in a while. Does LSU have the big money to bring him in? Coach, I think that they're going to find the money. I mean, they pretty much, they say money doesn't grow on trees. I think in some places it does. It's scary, but I don't think it should be a factor. I think it's ridiculous that they just keep wasting this money. I don't know. But yes, to answer your question, I think LSU does have the big money. However, that being said, I've told you here before, I am going to believe it when I actually see it. When he's standing on that, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Just saying, because look, the people that I respect and the people that I trust are saying it's going to happen. Okay. Or they're saying it's, 90% chance it's going to happen. I'll believe it when he's standing up there because that dude is quirky. And that's a nice way to put it. Chad Gage. Hello, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. How are you, Chad? My friend Shane Bergeron. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a Miller Pony for me tomorrow when you're sitting at the Thanksgiving Turkey Day table. Molly Miles here. Lane Kiffin is a big risk. Absolutely, he's a big risk. And I said this yesterday, and I've said it before when you talk about Lane Kiffin. I asked this question again. I hate to keep going back to things I said on the show yesterday, but I asked this question yesterday, and I've asked it before. Let's just say, you've been waiting for the perfect person to marry. Okay. You've been holding out. You've been waiting for the perfect person. And you think you found that person. You start dating and you're talking and you're like, wow, what a wonderful human being. Can't wait to marry this person. Then you find out this person's been married like 5 times before. Oh, but they're going to be loyal to me. What makes you think that Lane Kiffin coming to LSU is going to be any different than any of his previous stops? Now, I know not all of his divorces in the past have been on him, but there certainly have been some, including the one that he's about to have. But he's going to be loyal to me. No, he's not. He's going to do the same thing to LSU that he's doing to everybody else. Because when you jump in Jobby Joe, when you can go find a job somewhere else on, this person's paying me more money, I think I have a better chance to win a national champ. I'm not saying that he's not bettering himself by going to LSU if that's what he chooses to do. But what makes anyone think that if he does this to Ole Miss, and he's done it in the past to other schools, he leaves Alabama? I mean, he can wait to go to Florida Atlantic. Nick Saban's like, get the hell out of here. What makes you think that he's not going to do this? What makes you think if there isn't a 5th divorce in Lane Kiffin's life, and I mean sports-wise, not his real life, that he won't have a 6th divorce with LSU when Alabama comes a-calling, or Texas comes a-calling, or the NFL comes a-calling? What makes you think that that's not going to happen? I think it is going to happen. Earl's Pick, good morning. One Smoke, good morning. If we were truly rebuilding, talking about the Saints, A.K. Davis and Jordan would not be on this team. Oh, I think there's a good chance that none of those 3 will be on the team next year at this time. That's my guess. King Janus the 35th. How bad is Alvin's knee injury? I don't know that we know the answer to that yet. I think we're going to find out. Mark Satanovich. Pelicans may win game number 2 in a row. They might. They might not. They've won 2 in a row already this year. Jimmy Radcliffe. Happy Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Got to get to Fletcher. He is in the green room. We're going to try to roll through a few more of these. Apathy, good morning. Will I attend a potential Kiffin intro presser? No, sir. I will not. I have not done too much with I am credentialed to cover the Saints, and I kind of leave it at that. I do my LSU coverage from afar. We'll just call it that. And I also trust on the leanings of people who do cover them on a regular basis, like the man that's about to come on my screen in just a minute. Lance, good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Tom, happy Thanksgiving. Hump day. I forgot it was hump day. It is. Is it still hump day? I mean, really, the weekend kind of starts tomorrow. Really, hump day was probably yesterday in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. All right. Jimmy, good morning, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving. Glad to have you here. All right, let's bring him in. Well, you want to start with the LSU banner here, because that's what I want to lead to. And by the way, you see on the banner that the next show, that's right, we're going to do, I meant to say this earlier, but our next show is actually going to be Saturday morning instead of Friday. We're going to do a Saturday show because we're anticipating that the Lane Kiffin news will come out on Saturday morning. So I'd rather do a Saturday show and talk about what's either happened or about to happen than something Friday that's old news within a few hours. So, you know who's never old news? And that's Fletcher Mackel, WDSU-TV sports anchor. How are you this morning, my friend?
I'm good, Jim. You seem extra hype. Plenty of energy.
Had an extra cup of coffee this morning. I am ready for this LSU debacle to just be over with.
I am too. I am too. I don't know which direction they're going to go, but it's just the soap opera is run its course to me. Like, I don't know what season we're in here. If each day is a season, it was like intriguing and interesting. And now I'm just like, okay, like two things can be true. They always say that. I think Lane Kiffin will be a good coach at LSU. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think Lane Kiffin could do some really special things at LSU. So I like it. But what I don't like is Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, because I think for the sanctity of college football and the integrity of the sport, it is awful. So I hope he stays. So I like him at LSU, but I hope he doesn't come there. I hope he stays at Ole Miss. I hope he goes to the NFL, to be honest with you. I hope he takes, like, out of nowhere, he's the Giants coach or the Titans coach, and he finishes the season at Ole Miss, because that's at least a normal move, and he can finish the season. Not a normal move, but a move we could justify saying he's taking his shot at the pros. And but jumping from a team, like, what do you work for? Like, you work to get to the playoffs, to win national championships, and now you're going to say, yeah, forget all that. Forget that. I don't care about any of that. I'm just going to a better job immediately. It's a tired situation that's insane. In that, again, I wish it would end soon.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I am not a fan. I've never really been a fan of Lane Kiffin's. But my thing is this, and then not just the fact that if he's done it to all these other schools, he's going to do it to LSU too. Okay. I get it. Other coaches do that too. But this is just a little different. I mean, to me, you're leaving a school. Now you're leaving a school. Why is Ole Miss better? Why is the Ole Miss job? I'm sorry. Why is the LSU job better than the Ole Miss program that you have now built up to be? Ole Miss has gotten better every year. Now they're going to be in the playoffs, barring collapse in the Egg Bowl on Friday. Why is LSU? I just don't understand why he would be in such a rush to leave Ole Miss when he can get the same kind of money at Ole Miss, or pretty close to it, and stick with the program that you've already built and get a chance to go to the playoffs for the first time in your coaching career.
Look, I agree with you. And look, the sport, he said things this week on Monday that made me say, then why are you leaving? Because he talked about the distraction. He didn't answer many questions, but he was asked about being a distraction for his players and his team. And he said, look, guys don't care about that anymore. They can open transfer, NIL money. They can leave year after year after year. They're not as big into loyalty and coaches being here, which I understand. But that's another reason why you don't have to leave Ole Miss, is you're not just going to lose out on elite guys to LSU, to Alabama, to Georgia. You can pull those guys in. Right. You can pull players in from other Power 5 schools like he has to win there. So I agree. Look, Kurt Cignetti re-upped at Indiana. 10 years ago, if you'd have said, does Indiana have a chance against Ohio State, Michigan, and the big boys of the Big Ten? No, not in football, maybe in basketball. But now he's proven I got a quarterback from Cal who's probably going to win the Heisman, or may win the Heisman. I've got a team that's going to the playoffs for back-to-back years. I can re-up here and win here. Lane Kiffin can do that at Ole Miss. I agree with you, is that Ole Miss in Florida, LSU in Florida aren't just, they're so much better. He can't win at Ole Miss. His ceiling is here, and LSU and Florida are here. I get LSU and Florida have more history. I get that they probably have more NIL money. I get all that. But I don't think the difference is here and here. I think the difference may be like here and here. And what he's leaving is crazy, especially since he built it. He can do something on his own. He doesn't have to follow anybody. He's going to be, in a couple of more wins, the winningest coach in Ole Miss history, with a chance to take him to the playoffs and maybe win a national championship. Like, that's why I say I hope he doesn't leave, because for the integrity and sanctity of the sport, it looks bad.
I agree. It really does. But I think that's where we kind of are right now. And Kyle Sherman's got a comment that I kind of want to lean into the question here. He says there have always been character questions about Kiffin. That said, I think he'll do better than Kelly. And here is a question that I pose. To me, I've been saying that I think that basically Lane Kiffin is Brian Kelly with a personality. And if you look at the numbers here are the numbers that I typed up yesterday. Okay, so Brian Kelly's been a head coach for 22 years. He's had 10-win seasons. He had 5 top 10 finishes. He has an overall record of 276 with a 725 winning percentage. Lane Kiffin has 7 10-win seasons, 2 top 10 finishes, the third coming up most likely. He's 116-53, a 686 winning percentage. So actually, Lane Kiffin is actually slightly below what Brian Kelly's done, and Brian Kelly has been to a national championship game. Lane Kiffin has not been to the playoffs until this year, assuming that they win the Egg Bowl. So what makes Lane Kiffin that much different than Brian Kelly?
He's not. Like, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, and it was, look what he did at Notre Dame. Now what can he do at LSU, where you have an elite state of football talent? You have states around you with elite talent in Texas, in Florida, in Mississippi, and Alabama. His ceiling just went through the roof. Brian Kelly just needs to get away. He did some good at Cincinnati, but they had a ceiling. Notre Dame is Notre Dame, national power school. But boy, the academic requirements in getting kids to go to South Bend, like, it was all what he's going to do here. Shoot through the stratosphere. Amazing hire. Can't go wrong. Well, you went wrong. It went wrong. It went sideways. And you fired him into year 4. Like, is Lane Kiffin, it's the same thing. Boy, his ceiling at Ole Miss, it's not as high as it is at LSU. He can dominate at LSU. Can he? I hope he can. I hope. But again, there's nothing proven to say he can. So you're right. I'm not saying I dislike the hire, because I do think Lane Kiffin's a really talented coach. I really, really do. And I do think Kelly won. This is the thing. Brian Kelly won at LSU. He just didn't win to the level that his salary and the expectations that were created for him to. It's not like Brian Kelly went 4-8. You know what I mean? Like, Brian Kelly went to the conference championship his first year. He couldn't get the defense together and squandered a Heisman season and a potential national championship campaign. And now he's squandering like some really good defensive efforts because he can't galvanize and get his offense right with some elite players. And so, but they won. They just didn't win enough. And so, again, I just look at it and say that you're right. To me, there's not striking differences right now. Now, look, Kiffin could get to LSU and become the next Nick Saban. That is a possibility. So that is what I think people are selling themselves on is, hey, look, he can get here, make this his home, and chase Saban's rings. And that is what you talk yourself into, is differences between Brian Kelly and in Lane Kiffin.
And here's another point from a regular that leads into something that I want to make a point on. When Smoke says, I mean, it's questions with any coach you hire, to be honest. Well, that's true. However, any coach you hire other than Lane Kiffin isn't going to be the highest paid coach in college football, because that's what it's going to take to hire Lane Kiffin. So now you're going to make him the highest paid coach in college football for what? I mean, didn't we just say we don't want to go through this whole contract thing that they went through with Brian Kelly again? So now you're going to like give probably an even bigger contract to Lane Kiffin. So I just don't understand why you're just going to follow up with the hire from Brian Kelly. I mean, you can make excuses why Lane Kiffin's better than Brian Kelly, because people can't stand Brian Kelly. I understand that. So you're gonna find reason, and Lane Kiffin is a quirky, semi-likable dude, depending on who you are. I mean, whatever. So that makes him, being likable makes him, people want him. He's a player's coach or whatever it is Gabe talks about. But I don't get it. You're going to jump right back into the thing that you just did. And that's why, I would rather have a younger coach who you're going to pay a little bit less to, and again, has something to prove. A Dillingham or, again, Summerall's out of the picture, I'm guessing now is where we're getting when you look at the odds. In fact, I'm going to show the odds in just after we talk about this for a second. But, so to me, I'd rather pay a little bit less money to someone like that than just jump right into what you were already in.
Look, I agree. Here's my take on it. I hope that Lane Kiffin doesn't come and helps LSU saves LSU from themselves, so to say, I guess.
Right.
Is that, look, Governor Landry already grandstanded about the contract and the payout and the insanity of it. And now it's going to be like, that was insane, but this is my insane. Like, that was somebody else's insane. That was another board, another governor, an AD that I didn't want. That was their insanity. And I hated it, and I picked on it, and I dumped on it, and I made this national spectacle about it. This is my insanity. And again, I just think, God, the hypocrisy of it is crazy. If LSU goes down the same path, and the only difference is new governor, new board, new AD, and we're doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's no wonder people will pick on Louisiana. So I hope that Lane Kiffin picks another place and saves them from themselves. And look, I think Summerall would be great. I think Summerall should be their guy, to be honest with you.
So do I.
So I think it's a no-brainer. Like, he's maybe the best up-and-coming young coach, if not one of the top three. And, like, go get him. He's a workaholic who does great in the portal, who can obviously coach, who can obviously motivate. Go do that. Go get your guy and let him grow this program into, like, that sounds more to me like, again, Saban came from a power school and Les Miles came from a power school, but still, Summerall reminds me of like the coach on the cusp of greatness. Right. Give him this amazing entity to work with, and he potentially can deliver. And yeah,
it's like Jeff Duncan said a couple of weeks ago. He goes, he said in his column, he said, if you don't hire John Summerall, you're going to be playing against him very soon, probably next year, very soon. And if you do, good chance he's going to show you that you probably should have thought about hiring him. So with that, let's look at the odds. We got them on the left side of the screen if you can't see them, if you're listening after the fact. And these odds come from betonline.ag, which is the odds we've been talking about. Now, granted, that you take them with a grain of salt because these are the same odds that had Nick Saban up there just a few weeks ago. But Lane Kiffin now, an overwhelming favorite, minus 200. What that means is if you were actually going to bet, you'd have to bet $200 to win 100. So it's, overwhelming odds. The next guy is Eli Drinkowitz, and Matt Moscona has been talking about he thinks that Drinkowitz would be the second option and not Kenny Dillingham, who's plus 700. Brady's next, followed by Summerall, who's a distant fifth at 12-1. But I mean, everything we've heard, all the people I respect, and I mean, it just seems like it's a fait accompli, but I don't know why I don't necessarily. I can't. I know I'm probably going to be wrong, but I just can't. There's something weird about this whole thing. It just is a weird feeling, Fletch.
It does. I mean, the whole situation. Lane Kiffin's created it, and I don't know which direction he's going to go, and I can't wait to see it. I'll say this. Look, everybody hears different things. And look, I love Matt. I think he's probably right. Although I saw today that Drinkwitz is working on an extension at Mizzou. I would have a hard time believing that Kenny Dillingham is coming. And here's why. I don't disagree that he fits. Young, up-and-comer, rah-rah energy guy, Dan Lanning from that tree, took Arizona State to a playoff, berth last year. But here's the thing. When you talk about credibility and integrity, Kenny Dillingham is from Arizona, went to Arizona State, and multiple times in the last month has come out and said, I'm not leaving. I live next to my sister. I live a mile from my parents. This is my alma mater. Those are hard things to walk back. And again, look, I get it. Everybody makes decisions and situations change, but he didn't have to say that. His team's not going to the playoffs this year. So he could have slow played saying, I'm happy here. I'm happy, but he doubled down in a very decisive way on Arizona State. So I would feel like there's an integrity factor if if Kenny Dillingham all of a sudden now does a 180 and was like, sorry, I changed my mind. You know what I mean? So like, I think Clark Lee should be on a list higher because I think I feel like he hasn't gotten an extension at Vandy yet. And like, I know he's a Vandy graduate, but still, I feel like that's somebody LSU could get. Key at Georgia Tech is another one. The extension hasn't been completed yet. So maybe that's a guy they get. But I still think, to me, all roads should lead to John Sumrall. Look, Kiffin seems to be their guy. Whatever you and I think, Kiffin seems to be their guy. If Kiffin's not their guy, they should be, getting down I-10 ASAP to get a deal done with John Sumrall.
Yeah, look, I think we're going to have an answer by this weekend. I really do. I'm surprised. I got to be honest. It's as we talk about this on Wednesday at 11:30, a little after 11:30 in the morning here. I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't leaked out already, to be honest. Which, in turn, and I know that Kevin probably doesn't want to get it out because he really does want to coach this Egg Bowl, but I'm just surprised that something hasn't leaked out. But I will say this: everything that if he was going to stay at Ole Miss, there was no reason not to just say it the other day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I just think that he's going somewhere, and only, as again, I'm quoting Matt Moscona again, because he's been the best on this for the get-go for the longest time. He's, only Florida fans believe that he's going to Florida. So pretty much everybody else, the media, the LSU fans, the Ole Miss fans, all think he's going to LSU. So that's kind of where we are now. And I know we got to wait, but pretty close to done, but I'll believe it when he's standing on that podium.
Yeah, me too.
So, all right, well, let's talk about, let's talk a little bit about LSU themselves. We're going to move on because there's a bunch of things I want to jump to this morning. Just talk about this game and how does LSU focus? How does LSU, this offense has been so bad. Fletcher, you only scored 13 points against the Western Kentucky team. You only score, 23 against a really bad Arkansas team. And now you're playing Oklahoma, who has maybe the best defense in the SEC and one of the best defenses in the country. How is LSU going to score this week?
I mean, it probably won't, right? I mean, it's just like, I have no idea. So I did a talk back. Our company, Hearst, has TV stations around the country.
Right.
And they have one in Arkansas. So I did a talk back with them. They have one in Oklahoma, in Oklahoma City. They have one in Jackson. So I've done some talkbacks this year. And the woman who I did a talkback with, the sports director at our station in Fayetteville, it was when Arkansas was coming to LSU. And she goes, what can we expect in this game? And I'm like, I have no idea. Y'all fired your coach. LSU fired their coach. LSU's playing a backup quarterback. Who knows what you get in a game like that? I mean, look, Oklahoma to me is still playing for something real. So
Absolutely.
like they are still very much in the playoff conversation. So I don't know how LSU scores. LSU looked awful against Western Kentucky. It was awful. And so that's a team in Western Kentucky that it just seems like your offensive line is going to outweigh just the guys you recruit are bigger, stronger, faster for all practical purposes than the guys they recruit. Your O-line is going to outweigh their D-line. You should, if you just lined up and did like off tackle runs, you should be able to push the pile down the field and score touchdowns, even if it's slow and methodical and boring. And you couldn't even do that. So I don't know what to expect this weekend other than an LSU loss. So again, it's hard for me. I don't want to say it's nonsensical to talk about LSU right now, but I don't really care about the game on the field for LSU. I care about who the next coach is. And really, they're going to get beat. They're going to lose to Oklahoma. I can't imagine they rise up and win. And, oh, my God, what a great way to finish the season. And this is amazing. I think that even if they play better than they did against Western Kentucky, they're still going to lose. First ever trip to Norman to play Oklahoma. And that's it. And then in the blink of an eye, we'll be talking about a new coach and nobody's going to care. So I don't really care now. Again, we're playing it to play it. It doesn't matter. It matters for Oklahoma. So talking about the nuances of the game, not I'm not disrespecting your question. I just don't care.
I understand.
I just don't care. Does anybody care that Michael Van Buren's playing and I don't. I just don't care.
Again, and then we're going to have to talk about a potential bowl game for a month.
Right. Right. And how many guys opt out? Like John Trey Kirkland a few years ago was playing quarterback. Like that's the bad thing. And again, I understand that more than anything else. Non-playoff teams, I love bowl games. Like I love the New Orleans Bowl. I'm glad the Sugar Bowl is a playoff still. But like I get coaching changes, players opting out in the portal. Like look, Marshall had to pull out of the Independence Bowl last year when their coach went to Southern Miss, and like 46 players hit the portal. Right. LSU, Brian Kelly's first year. Like Nussmeier's redshirting, we don't even have a quarterback. You know what I mean? Last year with Tulane, like they don't even have hardly anybody to play for Summerall because it was just guys are hitting the portal, like Mensa and these guys, and it was a tough pill to swallow. So again, like that's why again, to me, the only topic for LSU is who's the next head coach. Anything game related is kind of a waste of our time.
We'll still watch it though, Fletcher. You'll still have to talk about it on
No, I will. And I mean, I'll say that on the news. Like, really, that's all we've talked about is like, I love Frank Wilson. I've covered Frank since I got here in 02. Right. Like, Frank is my friend, and I love Frank. And the next coach needs to keep him. He's great for LSU. But like, I'm not running any sound bites with Frank this week about how they're going to run the ball or what. It's like, I don't care. Does anybody care? Like, I could care less. The only sound bites I'm running about LSU on the news are Lane Kiffin talking about what's going to happen. Frank Wilson being asked about the next coach and having a relationship with Kiffin and sidestepping. Like, that's it. Like, I don't really care about the game.
Oh man, that might be 3.5 wasted hours on Saturday, but we're gonna watch it anyway and still gonna have to talk about it. Kyle Sherman, last question here on LSU because I do want to move on, but can Kiffin, assuming it's Kiffin, can Kiffin keep the signing class intact? And from what we've seen already, Fletcher, it looks like LSU has done a good job so far of keeping their recruiting class. I guess a lot of them are assuming that Lane Kiffin's going to be coming here.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's assuming Lane Kiffin. I think that you're right, though. I think it's a little bit of multiple things. I think that LSU is a feeder for the NFL. LSU has proven that no matter who the coach is, they are one of the best NFL producers. Right. So I think that the resources they have, everything that is LSU, the development that they have, guys understand that. And there's a holding pattern that if they make an out of left field hire, you may see an exodus. But I think that right now it's being held together because Lane Kiffin has proven he can win in the SEC and he can develop NFL talent, premium NFL talent. So if it's Lane Kiffin, guys are like, hell yeah, sign me up for that. If it's not, and if it's John Summerall, he may be able to hold this class together. But I'm curious. But right now, I think it's not so much of Lane Kiffin, or I think it's just the brand of LSU in a wait and see approach.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, Jim Derry here with Fletcher Mackel, WDSU-TV sports anchor on this Wednesday morning. Dattitude podcast brought to you by Evangeline Securities. Moving on, it kind of just turning towards Summerall. We've talked about the distractions for what might be with Lane Kiffin and LSU and not caring about the game as much. Well, Tulane has to care about the game. They're playing Charlotte this week. They're almost a 30-point favorite. Fletcher, but they've got an American Conference Championship game to think about after this, which is their ticket to the college football playoffs. But their coach is almost certainly leaving Tulane. How do they keep focused on the prize?
The fact that John Summerall has done a great job of eliminating distractions. What he did last week was master class. The reports popped up that he may be interviewing in Florida. He quashed that quickly and then posted pictures on Wednesday night last week of the only meeting I'm in is with the quarterbacks right now. And then on Thursday morning, he posted. Did I lose you?
Yeah, well, your sound is here. Your picture is not.
Oh, there I am.
There
okay.
you go. There you go.
Sorry, maybe my Wi-Fi hiccuped. I actually broke out, just so you know, I broke out the whole COVID setup for you. Like I broke out the headset and everything. This was my look during COVID, reporting from home. Right. So
I love that backdrop, by the way. I've been wanting to do something along those lines. I need to rework the studio. I don't want to do the green screen anymore. I actually want to rework I call it the dungeon because I turned my office into my studio about 2 years ago. But it moved it in the garage, but there are no windows in here. And when there are some days I spend 12, 14, 15 hours in here, and I feel like I'm in a dungeon. So
yeah,
anyway.
I will tell you this: my phone just gave me. I have 10% battery life left. So
all right, well let's go real quick.
No, but let me say this. But here's the thing: I will say this: John Summerall's done a great job. Unlike Lane Kiffin, who has invited the drama and the soap opera, Kiffin. Summerall has done a great job of keeping it out and the focus on the game. So that is what I appreciate. They'll be hyper-focused for this game. I think whether he's leaving or not, he's going to coach the conference championship game. I think the longer they win, like John Summerall, I don't think is bolting Tulane, knowing that playoff berths don't grow on trees. So the more he wins, I feel like the better chance Tulane has to keep him. Beat Charlotte, beat North Texas if that's who they host, get into the playoffs. I don't think John Summerall would jump if Tulane's going to the playoffs against Texas Tech or Georgia or Texas A&M or Alabama. Even if he misses the cycle this year, he'll be one of the hottest names next year, like Kenny Dillingham. And so I think the more Tulane wins, the better chance they have of keeping him.
And interestingly enough, if they do make the American Conference Championship game and play North Texas, they'll be playing a team who also has a coach that's leaving after this year is over, as Eric Morris is going to be the next coach at Oklahoma State. So it'll be two lame duck coaches in the American Conference Championship game if both win like they're supposed to win this weekend.
Yeah, it'll be. And look, maybe there is a world where Summerall announces, because like North Texas announced, he's taking the job, but he's coaching us the rest of the way, and we're okay with that. And they made peace with it very quickly, because if they beat Tulane, they're in the playoff in an American game. Maybe Summerall, after this week or after winning the conference championship game, they announce he's going to Auburn, but he's coaching us in the playoff. You know, I mean, maybe there's something like that.
We'll see if Tulane actually would let him. I mean, I think it's a little different situation than North Texas. They may or may not let him, but we'll probably find out soon enough. All right, let's go on a couple things before your phone dies and before we have to let you go. I do want to talk about the Saints, and obviously the biggest question for the Saints is, you know, that big kind of a letdown game against Atlanta. But look, I've been saying this all week. It's still the same Saints team. They're in rebuilding mode. I'm not sure what everyone expects from them. They weren't going to just win the rest of their games. They've got to fix those red zone woes. They are last, Fletcher, in the NFL, and not only they last. There's a little stat for you. Last in red zone TDs by a large margin. Baltimore is 30th in the NFL at 46.3% scoring touchdowns when they get in the red zone. The Houston Texans, Gabe Henderson's Houston Texans are 31st at 44.1%. The New Orleans Saints, they're last at 34.5. They're almost 10% lower than the 31st ranked team. How can the Saints fix their red zone woes?
I mean, I don't know if they can be fixed this year. It's been so bad. But the one thing I would like to see in the red zone, and I'm sure I posted it, Jim Mora was talking about it, we were all talking about it, is, look, I'm the biggest Taysom Hill stan there is. I thought Taysom should have just been anointed for the 2021 season after Breeze retired. No offense to Jameis, but I thought Sean found him, developed him, hyped him, should have just given him the job. So I love Taysom Hill. But last week, the Saints had 9 plays inside the 10-yard line, and Taysom played quarterback on 5 of them. Like, how are you developing Tyler Shuck and seeing what you have in Tyler Shuck if that's the case? Like, I saw a red zone. Somebody put a stat up. Tyler Shuck has now had 32 plays inside the red zone. They've let him pass on 9 of 32 plays. Like, do you just not believe in him? And this is some failed experiment, and your goal is to draft a quarterback next year, and you're just not telling us? Or do we really need to see him and see what he can do and maybe learn and gain confidence and get better? Like, look, Kellen Moore could scheme it better. I think there's a lot of questions now about what is he doing. He's obviously a young head coach who, while I think his offensive acumen is great, like, did he really, going into his bag for that play with Taysom Hill, the rollout pass, was that your in the bag play to dazzle us? Like, so I think the play calling has been really bad. I think that the lack of confidence in their quarterback, starting with Rattler and now with Shuck, has been bad. The over-reliance on Taysom Hill of, hey, he's just going to put his head down and power, QB power, and we're in. So I don't know if they fix it. Like, they don't have any big receivers that are going to win jump ball battles. Like, So I don't think they fix it. But the one thing I would like to see is Tyler Shuck play all of the snaps, no matter
100%.
what, the rest of the way, especially in the end, in the red zone.
Couldn't agree more. I've been saying that. And look, this isn't Taysom Hill is not a piece of the future for this team. And you're 2-9, and you got to find out who the pieces are for the future. And then you're not going to find them by putting Taysom in Hill. And look, I asked one question that entire post-game presser, and it was I don't think Taysom really appreciated it because he kind of chuckled when it was the mock chuckle you get from players and coaches sometimes when that pass was that supposed to be a pass from the get-go? No, I knew what the answer was, but I asked it that way for a reason to see what I would get. And obviously, of course, I didn't just throw it on my own. That was the design play. But that's kind of my point. I mean, Kellen Moore has struggled immensely, and I get that he's a young, and when you give the keys to the franchise to a young coach like that, you're going to give him time to grow. But I've seen some improvement in lots of places, but I don't know that I've seen improvement from the head coach, and we're going into 12 games into the season.
That's what I mean. That's what worries me is if we were seeing schematic stuff where, like, we'd see stuff with Sean Payton and like Trevor Siemian didn't execute it well. You know what I mean? Exactly. Or like there were times where it's like, boy, I see what it is though. Like he's not Drew and he can't do what Drew did, but you could still see like the semblance of what they were trying to do, how they were lining up, how they were utilizing Alvin. Even if they didn't execute it, you saw like the bones of it. Whereas like this, it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what, like, I don't know if he wants to run more RPO, like, but he just doesn't because he doesn't have the right personnel to do, you know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't know what kind of coach he is yet, because I think we saw very early in the season a ton of pre-snap motion and shifts, but they were the most penalized team in the league because they couldn't get lined up and they couldn't execute. And like James Hurst works with us at WDSU, and he goes, look, this is high level stuff that you need high level operators to execute. And you had a quarterback battle with young quarterbacks in camp, so they had to dumb it down. So again, I think we saw some things early, but all they kept getting was false start penalties and in alignment penalties because it was like an illegal shift here. And so then you dumb it down. But now it just seems so pedestrian that I have no idea what they're doing. Like, other than we're playing, but we have no real idea.
He keeps calling plays, Fletch, like he is still coaching the Philadelphia Eagles. Like he still has Jalen Hurts and he has Saquon Barkley and he has the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. And he doesn't have anything close to that in New Orleans. I mean, and so that's the problem. You can't keep coaching like you're coaching a Super Bowl offense. You have one of the worst offenses in the NFL and a rookie quarterback who's trying to feel his way. So I just think that, look, I hope to see. So we talk about what we might see from Tyler Shuck, and I like what I've seen so far. I would like to see more of it. Mm-hmm. So Tyler Shuck's going to adjust. We need to see the head coach adjust too. Yeah,
look, I think Tyler Shuck, unlike Spencer Rattler, who just seemed like a backup, that was kind of a man, don't turn it over, check down artist. Like that was it. That was Spencer Rattler. Like I'm going to eliminate my turnovers and holding the ball too long, which were big problems last year. And I'm just going to like get rid of it quick. That seemed like a backup. That was like a backup. Come in, don't screw up, check it down. That was a backup. Shuck, I feel like, steps up, drives the ball downfield. I feel like I've seen a few moments that make it seem like I see it. Like I see it. Like I see a layered throw here. Like I see the ability to get outside the pocket with his legs. Like I see it, but I certainly, and that's the one thing that I told you this. The only thing I care about with LSU football is who the next coach is. I don't care about the game. I care about the Saints games, but the only thing I really care about over these last, it was 7 games, now it's 6 games, is Tyler Shuck the future? Because, like, you got to know that. You got to know, is he our quarterback in 26 or is he not? And so we need more games like Carolina and less like Atlanta, because if he's not the quarterback and you're picking third, you got to take the quarterback. And I don't know if it's in Mickey's DNA, because drafting a quarterback in the top 5 is a legacy-defining decision. And
they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. Fletcher's freezing up on me. I don't know if did we lose him? I'm going to take him off. I hope he comes back on. If he comes back on, we'll bring him back in. But there was a couple other things I wanted to ask him about. But look, we'll go this alone the rest of the way if we have to. But because I still want to talk about the Pelicans as well. But talking about what Fletcher was talking about, I'm glad he brought that up because I actually wanted to bring up I was going to bring up the season rankings now. And all we care about is seeing. That's not the only thing that I necessarily care about. It's not the only thing is not just Shuck, but that's obviously a big part of it. And you look at the season rankings and you go into this week's game and we talk about the Saints versus the Dolphins, Saints at the Dolphins. Well, the Saints passing offense is 20th in the NFL. The defense for the Dolphins, they are 12th against the pass. They've actually been pretty good, especially as of late. Now, they've been hit and miss. You remember they started off really strong, and then they went through a really, really bad time, the Dolphins did, and now they're actually playing better football again. So what are we going to see from the Dolphins? Do we care? I mean, how much do we actually care? It's like Fletcher said, is it more just about what's coming up? The season rankings, you look at the Saints passing defense, they ought to be able to stop Miami, who's obviously had a tremendous amount of injuries. They haven't had injuries with Devon Achane. I always say his name wrong. Whatever. You know what I mean. But rushing the football, they've been 18th. The Saints defense has been okay. 21st. It's been kind of up and down. But the interesting matchup, the Saints rushing offense, which is almost not. Is Alvin Kamara going to play on Sunday? I think probably not. I didn't even look at the injury report yet. So I don't know what the newest injury report says. Gabe, if you can check on that for me, see if there is an injury report from Wednesday, if Alvin Kamara practiced. My guess is he did not. And again, my guess is he didn't play. So what are you going to do if you're the Saints? Are you going to just feature Devin Neal and have Taysom Hill be the backup? I don't know the answer to that. So Achan. There you go. I get it right eventually. As a play-by-play announcer, one of the things I pride myself on is pronouncing names right. But I have always had I've tried to fix it dozens of times, and I still pronounce it wrong every time I do it for the first time. Achan. All right, there we go. But Saints rushing offense against the Dolphins rushing defense. Rushing defenses for the Dolphins have been putrid. They're one of the worst in the league, but the Saints can be able to run the ball. It doesn't even matter. If Alvin Kamara plays, great. If he doesn't, though, again, it's going to be a heavy dose of Devin Neal, and Taysom Hill's likely going to be your backup running back. That's kind of where we are right now. This team's got to figure something out. Let's see. Earl says we should not draft a quarterback next year. We need to fill all the gaping holes on this team. Gabe says no injury report that's out yet. That's interesting. They usually do, and I didn't see one either, so I believe you. There's not one, so we'll see. Randall says the right thing to do with his top 5 pick. I'm going to say this. I'm going to read the rest of his comment first. The right thing to do with his top 5 pick would be to trade down. We know Mickey Loomis will never do that. I don't necessarily agree with. We'll see. We'll see whether I agree or not. I think if they're going to go the offensive line route, then yes, I agree. They should trade down because you got 2 tackles and you can get a guard later in the first round for sure. And you could stockpile picks that way. But if you're going to go out and you're going to get yourself an offensive weapon, it's got to be on offense, by the way. No matter what they draft, I know it's only November 26th and the draft's not for another half a year. It's on the other side of the calendar. But you got to draft offense. I mean, if you cannot think about drafting defense in the first. And I get there are some great players up there. We've talked about, some of the great players that are going to be up there that are defensive players, but you got to go draft offense. Jay Hamilton says he'd lean to no drafting quarterback right now. And look, I think no matter what any of us think or what want, I think what the Saints have shown us throughout the course of this year and how they have waited to put Tyler Shuck in. We talked about this in the preseason and now. I think the Saints don't think that they need a quarterback. I don't think it doesn't matter how bad or good Shuck is the rest of the year. I think they have shown us that that's what the Saints are going to do. Again, it doesn't matter what I think or you think or whatever. I think the Saints think they have their quarterback of the future. They wouldn't have drafted him where they drafted him if they thought they needed a quarterback. So almost regardless of what happens the rest of the year, I think Tyler Shuck is almost certainly, I'd put it at 85, 90% barring injury. That high, that Tyler Shuck is the starting quarterback of this team on week 1 of the 2026 season. I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback. Whether they should or shouldn't is a whole different story. It just doesn't make a difference. Lance says trade down 5 to 8 and get Jeremiah Love. That's not going to happen. He's going to be gone. But yeah, that would be great. Apathy says you ride Shuck and sign a vet. I don't think you're going to do that either. Apathy. I think this team is, I think there's absolutely better than a 50-50 shot that the 2 quarterbacks on this roster in week 1 of the 2026 season are the same 2 quarterbacks that are on this roster right now. I think that Shuck's going to be your quarterback, and I think that Spencer Rattler has proven enough to be a backup. I just don't think they may go draft a quarterback again. I hope not. We'll see. All right. I do want to move on to a couple other topics here. Again, we may come back to the Saints if people have questions about it, but we're going to bring Gabe on in just a minute, and I don't want the show to be forever. By the way, you see the banner at the top that I put up there? A reminder, the next show is going to be Saturday morning, okay? We're going to do Saturday instead of Friday, and I said this earlier. I don't know what time we're going to go on. If there's a Lane Kiffin announcement early in the morning, then I'm going to be ready to go, and we may have a show as early as like 9 a.m. It just kind of depends on what happens with Lane Kiffin. If there's no announcement by 11 a.m., then that's when we're going to go on, 11 a.m., okay? We're either going to go on at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., or 11, somewhere between 9 and 11, with 11 being the last. But I wanted to wait until Saturday. I don't know if we're going to do a pick'em show this week. UBN's probably not watching right now anyway. He's in Florida, on his way to Florida. We'll see how it goes. But we're probably going to be focused solely on Lane Kiffin this week. So that's why, I'm sorry we're not getting enough Pelicans. By the way, we never even mentioned, I'll go back to this. We never even mentioned Blake Groupie getting cut. What did you leave that in the comment? I know how many people, is there anyone out there that's not happy Blake Groupie got cut? I will say that I don't get the Cade York signing. Unless you're just going to put him on the practice squad. I would much at 2. You're 2-9. You got Charlie Smith has been on the practice squad for 2 years now. Why wouldn't you just use him? I don't get that at all. I just don't get it. I'm going through. Lance wants to dump Ruiz. I don't know that you can dump him right now. You can't spend 2 high picks on guards. Okay, so you're not going to go find, unless you go get a guard in free agency, which is possible because they will have some money. You can't just dump Ruiz, and I can tell you that I just don't think the Saints are going to dump Ruiz. Now, I think they'll be in the market for a left guard, and I don't know whether you do that in the draft or whether you do that in free agency. You've got to get a left guard, okay? You've got 100%, no questions asked, you've got to get a left guard. Whether you do it in the first or second round of the draft or you do it in free agency, you 100% absolutely have to do that. I don't think there's any question. Randall says Blake Groupie was cut on the same day that Will Lutz got a contract extension. Okay, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you on this one. Okay, I don't want to hear anyone say, and I'm telling you, I don't want to hear a single soul say anything. Oh, they should have kept Will Lutz. BS. Everybody was calling for Will Lutz to be going to, because you know what? He was doing the same thing at the end of his career here in New Orleans that Blake Groupie's been doing this year. Okay, I'm no Blake Groupie fan. I've never liked Blake Groupie, okay? As a kicker, I mean. I have never been a fan of Blake Groupie being the kicker here. I have thought they had better options before, and I thought they should have never been the choice from the get-go. However, that being said, you can't say Will Lutz, oh, you're going to compare him to Will. Will Lutz sucked his last year here. Will Lutz deserved to be gone. Okay, so that's not a good comparison. I know you're just saying and you're making a funny, but Will Lutz deserved to be gone. How he found his kick and stroke again, I don't know, because he lost it. He lost it with Peyton. So how he got it back again, I have no idea. Maybe it's the high mountain air of Denver. I don't know. But whatever it is, Will Lutz was not good here. One smoke. Saints are developing a kicker in Smith. Maybe they are. But you're 2 years in now. How long are you going to? We don't just develop guys for that long. Get them out there. Again, you have nothing to lose. You're 2-9. Who cares if he misses kicks? I'm just saying. Lance says, I've been talking about Love. He thinks Love unlocks some things. I just don't think I don't think they're going to go that route. I just don't. Gabe points out Lutz was 23 of 31 in his last year here on field goals. Group E was 18 of 26. Yeah, I mean, that's not that far off. I mean, it's a little better percentage-wise. I mean, I'm no mathematician. Obviously, that's a little better because it's 8 misses in 31. This is 8 misses in 26. So Lutz's percentage was a little better, but that's still bad. I agree, Tom, wholeheartedly. Smith should play or go away. I mean, again, you're getting an exemption because he's got that international spot, and it's not really costing you anything to leave him sit on the practice squad. But it's not fair to the kid either. Either let him have a chance to play in the NFL. You got 6 games left. Let him be the kicker for the last 6 games. Who cares about Cade York? These are his 15 now. Cade York is, besides his first game in the NFL with the Cleveland Browns, he's been stinky poo-poo since then. I mean, Cade York. Why? Cade York's not going to be your future at kicker unless he has some, eye-opening. He has some awakening like Will Lutz had. I mean, sure, there's a chance of that, but I'd much rather see Charlie Smith get in there. That's why you got this kid. So we didn't talk about that, but all that much. But I don't think we have to because I think we're all on the same page when it comes to groupie. I don't know if we're all on the same page when it comes to that. Never heard of a team developing a kicker, Randall said. I have. Of course. Sure. Why not? You develop any position. All right. Let's I want to go again. We're going to go back to the Pels real quickly before I bring Gabe in. And 3-15, they scored 143 points against a really bad Bulls defense. They also showed how bad of a defense they are as well because they gave up 130. So I'm not excited about the Pels. And Charles, I didn't mean to dish you earlier when I was talking about big win. I just don't think there is any such thing as a big win for this team until they become relevant again. And the question is, can the Pels regain relevance? And when you're 3-15, you have such an uphill climb. When you have to win 12 games in a row and you're still in November. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving yet. And you got to win 12 games in a row to get back to 500. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say the season's a lost cause, but there are so many changes that need to be made in this team. I know you know what I feel, Charles. This team has just, don't get me started. Why don't the Pelicans have a new head coach? Well, you can't. I mean, who are you going to hire? I mean, someone you hire is probably going to be someone that's recycled. You don't hire long-term coaches in the middle of a season. You do that in the off season. I don't remember the last time, other than an interim coach that held on to the job. Gabe, do you remember the last? And I'll actually bring you on now. Gabe Henderson, everybody. Do you remember the last time that an NBA coach or any coach for that matter was hired and once the season began that wasn't an interim coach that held on to the job?
Didn't Doc Rivers get hired by the Bucks midseason?
Did it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe, but the point is the fact that we're trying to remember one and it hardly ever happens.
Yeah, they hired him January 2024.
Before that, do you remember one? I mean, I just don't remember him.
I don't remember one.
Doesn't happen.
That's the most recent one that I remember.
Yeah.
Probably Ty Lue probably got hired midseason somewhere.
Quovada says we need to stop missing on the draft picks. That has been killing us for the last few years, meaning the Saints, I believe, but the Pels too. The Pels have certainly missed, and great Zion played. He goes to show what he can do when he actually gets in there.
There's also just no reason to hire a coach at this point. You're 3-15. You're not going to do anything. No reasonable coach would want to take over right now.
I agree wholeheartedly. What you got for me this morning? What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Going to my mom's house.
Okay. What are the
family over there?
What are the fixins at the Henderson house besides the obvious turkey? What do you? Is it the same meal every Thanksgiving, or is it something that's different each year?
No, it's something that's different. I don't know what we're doing this year. All I know is I'm in charge of bringing some blackened chicken and some desserts. So.
All right. The first Christmas. Okay. Not to get on a tangent, but the first Christmas my wife and I spent together. I obviously weren't married yet. We're just dating. Actually, we're living together at this point. But the first Christmas, she made an Italian feast for Christmas, and she wanted to know why I was pouting at the end Christmas night. I'm pouting, like I do when I don't get what I want. And it's like, what is your problem? I'm like, there was no ham to this day. That's 20 years ago. To this day, she still gives me grief about saying that there was no ham. To me, there has to be all I care about on Thanksgiving is there's got to be a turkey, there's got to be a ham, there's got to be a stuffing, and there's got to be green bean casserole. The rest is lagniappe. Oh yeah, and you got to have a pumpkin pie. The rest is lagniappe. And so Christmas, I got to have a ham, and I got to have homemade macaroni and cheese. Other than that, I don't care. And there was no ham that first year, so she has made sure we've had a ham ever since on Christmas. But she'll basically go, and I'll say this, I don't care. She'll throw it on the table every year. It's kind of the same thing. There's your goddamn ham, so enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm not this is a hot take. I'm not a deli meat guy, so Thanksgiving isn't my
deli.
You gotta not a huge Thanksgiving
that.
food. Yeah, no, not a huge Thanksgiving food.
Really?
Guy, no,
okay.
Really not.
Happy Thanksgiving. Randall. Brian Cavett, happy Houdat Turkey Day. Charles says he's got to have the creamy potatoes. I wasn't not thankful. He says you better be thankful for an Italian feast anytime and given. It's given. Look, my wife owned an Italian restaurant. When we got together, she owned an Italian restaurant with her dad, a place called Anselmo. So I get it. Bart says she should have divorced me then. Hey man, that's harsh. You might be right. Brian says candied sweet taters. All right, what is your all right, you're not a fan of what else do you like?
I would say my ideal Thanksgiving meal would probably be some sort of chicken, either be roasted. Probably I would go back to my grandma's. She would roast a chicken and then she would roast some potatoes, make them all crispy, some green beans on the side.
All right, you and Randall on the same page. Says he likes green bean casserole with extra crispy.
I love onions. Yeah, I'm a big onion guy.
All right, what you got for me on this Thanksgiving Eve?
So I want to talk a bit about Lane Kiffin.
I
had some thoughts on you and Fletcher's discussion earlier. So I will tell you, the one thing that LSU has over Ole Miss is recruiting. There are more blue chip prospects in Louisiana. As you know, it's easier. You are the only school really recruiting Louisiana. All respect to Tulane, you don't have any competition recruiting the talent in Louisiana. In terms of in-state, I mean, obviously teams from Texas and Florida and Alabama are going to come and try and poach your players. But in terms of in-state competition, Louisiana is one of the few states, along with Ohio, where you just don't have any competition. You are the school. And one thing that Lane Kiffin's really done at Ole Miss, and he's kind of masked these recruiting, I'll say quote unquote issues by dipping into the transfer portal. And I think that's just not a sustainable thing. They've done well, but it's an expensive method of recruiting, and it's really not sustainable year after year.
That goes back to Randall had a comment about a half an hour ago that I said I would get back to. And he says, do you think Lane Kiffin can keep a fence around the state of Louisiana? And I agree. No matter who it is, whether it's Lane Kiffin or whoever it is, that's one thing that I think that Brian Kelly maybe got away from a little bit. He did an okay job. He did an okay job, but Coach O was excellent. I mean, that's one you want to talk about. The strength of Ed Ogeron was he realized from the get-go, and he told me this before he even took the job, that you had to put a fence around the state of Louisiana And so whoever it is, they need to realize how much talent's here and they need to keep it here.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you talk about Ed Orgeron. He's a guy who could be on staff if Lane Kiffin is hired.
Go Tigers.
You talk the assistant coaches at LSU. Brian Kelly was the one who got rid of some guys like Corey Raymond. Frank Wilson's on staff. He'll probably be retained. So, I really think it's a possibility that Ed Orgeron could be on staff if Lane Kiffin is hired.
That would be very interesting and weird. I mean, you've seen coordinators throughout every level, I guess, that become head coaches and then actually go back to being coordinators. You don't often see them become a coordinator with the same team. The one that I can remember is in the NFL, and Vance Joseph, who was head coach of the Broncos, is back as defensive coordinator with the Broncos. But you just
don't have to look too far.
Often.
Look at Bobby Petrino.
That's true. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. But I think that's a possibility. And
I think they're fine recruiting wise. Yeah, put it that way.
But they're not losing. I also want to losing the guys that they had already. They're most of them are staying. So
I also did want to talk about you mentioned the fact that Lane Kiffin would be the highest paid coach, and I think that's just a product of the market. I mean, it's like when you sign, let's say hypothetical here, Tyler Shuck balls out, and in a few years he's eligible for an extension. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He would then presumably become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And I don't think that's necessarily indicative of the talent, saying he's better than guys like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. I think it's just a product of the times. It is becoming more expensive in the game of football to play, to coach. So we can say that Lane Kiffin would be the highest paid coach in the country, yes. But that's just until the next hot thing comes around next cycle, or Kirby Smart gets an extension or something of that nature. So that's why I really don't have a problem with the money of it all.
I don't know. Trevor Lawrence is still apparently.
There's obviously
it's still the fourth highest paid quarterback in the NFL. What a joke that is. Don't get me started. I know what you're saying, but and to some extent that's true. But you just went through all this, which is one of my biggest.
I get
problems
it, but the numbers we're hearing right now are not as astronomical as they were with Brian Kelly. The problem wasn't Brian Kelly's salary. The problem was giving him a 10-year contract. You won't get that with Lane Kiffin, at least at LSU. LSU will not give out another 10-year contract.
He's not going to stay here 10 years. The chances Lane Kiffin, whatever Lane Kiffin's next destination is, and obviously most likely it's LSU, the chances he stays at his next destination for 10 years is about the same chance that I'm ESPN anchor in 2 years from now.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Oh, you think I'm going to be an ESPN anchor?
Potentially. No, I don't think you want to be.
I don't want to be.
I just think I think for a guy like Lane Kiffin, I mean, he's got Nick Saban advising him, and Nick Saban always said the biggest regret of his career was leaving LSU. I think Lane Kiffin, as long as he produces,
if he were to be the next
LSU coach,
advising him though.
According to people who are more knowledgeable in the situation and more in the know than I am, he is.
I don't know. Nick Saban couldn't wait to get the pass out of there. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Before I'm going to wrap up the show with Saints, but I do want to pick your brain. And this is the time that we usually make our Thursday night football picks because we don't have a show on Thursday. And I am going to get back to Saints guys for 5 more minutes before we end the show today.
Can I ask you one more thing before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
This is the last time we will talk about it before Saturday. In your mind, come Saturday, if he makes a decision, where will Lane Kiffin be coaching next season?
You know how I like to go off on a tangent? That reminds me of a song. How many of y'all are old enough to remember Come Saturday Morning? Yeah, I actually did that on the air. I think I have to believe all the people that I respect and trust. I believe the Matt Mosconas of the world and respect Matt Moscona. Ross Dellinger, I respect when he says stuff. It's usually true. So all these people that I have followed and watched and They all say that as of right now, I believe that all the information that these people have gathered has been correct. But Lane Kiffin's a quirky,
He's
weird
unpredictable.
dude. There is nothing that says, and here's part of the reason why I think Ole Miss is, it's not just that they want Lane Kiffin to coach the Egg Bowl so they'll have a better chance to win and then go into the playoff. But I think part of it too is, let him have a week to stew on this and realize that if he decides he's going to go to LSU, he's not going to be able to coach the playoff, and maybe he changes his mind. So I don't think the odds and the percentages that everyone's given out is accurate. I don't think it's 95% that he's going to LSU. I think it's 0% he's going to Florida, by the way. I think he's either going.
I also don't think he goes to Florida at this point.
I think he's either staying at Ole Miss or going to LSU, and obvious. So if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm going to say 75% LSU, 25% Ole Miss, and 5% something really weird happens and comes in last minute and we don't know about it, which with Lane Kiffin wouldn't shock the hell out of us. But, if you go back and think about it, and Matt was talking about this yesterday, but Lincoln Riley was going to be the next coach at LSU until he wasn't, and he decided to go to USC. And then what is it? The next day or 2 days later, Brian Kelly had a contract. So I just can't. It's not as, I just don't think the percentage is as high as everybody thinks it is.
I get that.
So that's my thing.
So I almost completely forgot about this, but you brought up a point that reminded me of it. So that On3 poll. So On3 polled 80 college football journalists and personalities on where they think Lane Kiffin will end up next. LSU was the overwhelming winner with 59 of the 80 votes. Ole Miss got 17. So that right there is 60.
So none of the media members thinks they're going to Florida.
No. So, I mean, that basically verifies what you just said when you narrowed it down to 2. Florida got 5 votes. And then at 1 vote apiece, the Tennessee Titans, Alabama, and Scott Van Pelt special. No clue.
Love it. SVP is definitely the best thing going on ESPN.
For what it's worth, I think he goes to LSU as well.
Randall says LSU 100%. Brian Calvin says Ole Miss is his guess. Lance says Ole Miss with a raise. Charles Manga says Ole Miss. Ryan says not being able to coach the playoffs is the only reason he'd stay. I mean, maybe.
At the end of the day,
Ryan says, here's something I'm sorry.
I agree.
I would have said this in September, yes, but I don't feel this way anymore. I don't feel that. I think LSU is a better job than Ole Miss, but I don't think it's such a better job than Ole Miss. It's whatever you make it to be. And if you can't look, as much as I've bashed and dissed on Lane Kiffin, there's no question. And this is a what have you done for me lately world. Lane Kiffin the last few years has built Ole Miss into a pretty juggernaut program. Okay. Last year, they probably should have gone to the playoffs. They choked. They didn't go to the playoffs last year. They choked. They had a chance to.
This year, I just don't know how sustainable that is. I really, because he's building his rosters through the portal.
Okay,
that's
so what?
He's building his roster, and the way that NIL works is changing next year. You're not going to. The schools basically have a cap on how much they can pay players, so it's got to be local businesses and other business ventures doing the NIL funding. LSU's got a hell of a lot more than that than Ole Miss does.
I'm sorry. I'm not buying it now. I mean, LSU has not shown me
you don't have to buy it.
They've not adjusted. I don't care what the money is. They're just not adjusted until someone proves it to me. We keep saying LSU, blah, blah, blah. Randall, by the way, and this dumb, stupid rumor needs to end. Okay. Yeah. There is zero. Here's my 0.0. 0.0. Well, assuming that they don't choke Auburn, even then, I still don't think it's going to happen.
Watch out for Auburn in that game.
Kalen DeBoer is not going anywhere. Kalen DeBoer is not going in that game. Anyway, the silly rumors. So yeah, would that change Lane Kiffin's mind? Yeah, maybe, but that's not going to happen before Friday either.
No,
or Saturday morning.
That would be on Saturday, and Lane Kiffin's decision would presumably already be made up.
Quo says LSU's quirky too. Coach O, yeah, he's different kind of quirky. Les Miles. In eating the blade of grass, Lane fits the Tigers. I guess.
He does.
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin, there is no one in college
don't
football
think
more suited to be the head coach of LSU football in terms of personality than Lane Kiffin.
I ain't buying it.
Personality-wise.
Personality-wise, I think Coach O's a better fit than Lane Kiffin. He just can't personality-wise, so I don't know that I can buy that. All right, we're going to move on. Obviously, again, Saturday morning, we should have an answer, or maybe we'll try to time it to where we go on the air and get breaking news and have an answer. We'll see how it works. I honestly don't know how Saturday morning is going to work. I just know that we're going in the air, and I'm going to be out late. I got to play-by-play on Friday night, so it should be a lot of fun. All right. While you're eating your turkey, of course, as we do each year, it's Thursday football pick'em. We don't know if we're having a pick'em, but we're going to do a mini pick'em right now. I'm going to force you to give me two best bets. It can be a spread. It can be a total, whatever you want. You got 6 different bets here. Here's the Thanksgiving schedule on the screen. It starts off noon Central Time on Fox with the Packers at the Lions. The Packers are a 2.5 point underdog. The total is 48.5. Kansas City against the Cowboys. The Chiefs are a 3.5 point favorite at Dallas. Total of 52.5. And then the nightcap on NBC at 7:20. The Bengals. Joe Burrow is coming back +7 against the Ravens, who have not been playing like the Ravens, even though they have been winning, but they've been scraping by on an easy schedule. And the total there is 451.5. Is any of those 3 games? Do you have a mega best bet? I'm going to force you to give me 2 bets, but do you have anything that you love out of those 3?
No.
No? Really?
No, because these teams are all wildly unpredictable in my eyes. If I were to choose one best bet, I'd probably say Lions -2.5.
I like that. I like that. I don't love it. I like that though.
I showed last week. I can't trust the Chiefs. I just can't. You can't trust them anymore. I don't know if they're a very good team.
My third pick would be Chiefs -3.5. I think they're going to steamroll Dallas.
That's how I would lean, but I can't do that after last week.
Dallas, after beating Philadelphia last week, and the Chiefs just kind of flopping around, and everybody just keeps this. It is truly now or never for the Chiefs. There's no question now. It's now or never for the Chiefs, and I'm not saying never until I see never. So I'm going to take. That is not one of my best bets, by the way. Charles agrees. And by the way, Randall, best bet of the week. He says lock of the century. I don't like Oklahoma at all.
I like the under in that game.
I kind of like the under too. I don't like Oklahoma -10 at all. I don't necessarily think LSU is going to score a lot of points. I think they're going to find a way to score a touchdown. I think they're going to find a way to score. And I know this is crazy since they only scored 13 last week. I think they're going to find a way to score 13-ish again this week. And I could see them losing like 20-13, 19-13. I think the defense is going to show up. They have pride. They have pride. So I actually like the under in the LSU game as well. All right. I have a best bet that I love. Okay. And I know this is I know this is square. I'm 100% certain this is square, and I don't care. Okay. I love the Packers Lions over 48.5. The fact that this is the lowest number on the board of the 3 teams is mind-boggling to me. And the Lions have been iffy. They've been, some weeks like last week, of course, Gibbs goes off against my fantasy team. That asshole. Anyway, just get me all fired up. But nobody cares about my fantasy team. The Lions have been hit and miss. Division team, they've been circled in this game because the Packers have had their number at different times. But this game, they are looking forward to this game. But I think the Packers, they've been kind of like playing in the muck and the mire. I think this is going to be a very fun, entertaining game. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. So I like the over 48.5. And then my second bet, I like both of these. I will absolutely be betting both of these. I love the Chiefs Cowboys under 52.5. I've been successful with unders lately.
Yeah.
I love the under in that game. I don't know why it's that high. The Chiefs, if Spagnuolo is going to be focused on stopping Dak, if they run on him, great. He's going to be looking to stop Dak. And I think the Chiefs are going to have to, if they're going to win, if they're going to cover that spread, they're going to need to keep this a little bit lower scoring. So
for sure.
Earl likes Dallas straight up. I do not. I think Kansas City wins by 10.
If Dallas had lost last week, I would have been more inclined to take them straight up.
Ryan likes the Chiefs. And then that last game, I don't have a best bet there, but I
like
don't
the under in that game too.
I do too. I was actually going to say that. I like the under there as well. Joe Burrow coming back. The Ravens just have not been the Ravens. And again, it's this, nobody cares about my fantasy team, but I'll just say it's no coincidence that since Lamar Jackson's been back and he's my quarterback and I feel like I have to start him, my team's been losing. And now I'm in a situation where I've got to win the last two to get in the playoffs. I win the last two, I'm in. I don't win the last two, I'm not in. And I need Lamar Jackson to play well, but I'm with you. I like the under.
I just won my last regular season game to squeak in, so that was nice.
Last regular season game already?
We do 2-week playoffs.
Okay. All right. So anyway, that's what I got there. Any other thoughts before we say goodbye and happy Thanksgiving?
The Saints shouldn't draft Jeremiah Love because when you have a bad offensive line, you already can't take running backs in the first round unless you're set and it's a luxury, but you can't with a bad offensive line. We see how that worked out with Ashton Genty. The Raiders stink.
I think the Saints are going to address offensive line and free agency. They actually have money this year. They will have some money. They don't want to have a lot. Earl is telling me, you're telling me, I get it. You're telling me Dallas. You might as well type it on the caps, Earl. I don't think Dallas is going to win. Go ahead.
I will leave with this. I am thankful that the Las Vegas Raiders and the Tennessee Titans are not on my television tomorrow. That's what I'm thankful for.
Yeah, just think if that was a Thanksgiving game.
Oh, God.
I
love bad football, but I can't watch those two. They're so bad.
You think with the tryptophan you'd be able to, stay awake for that? Especially if that was the noon game. That was the noon game. I just watched the Macy's parade until on rerun until 2:30 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's bad.
Charles says the Saints need to draft a line. I mean, we've been doing that. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Charles. All right, and Gabe, happy Thanksgiving to you. I will see you on
Likewise.
Saturday at some point.
Yep, can't wait.
All right, don't eat too much.
I won't.
I'm saying that, and I'll probably, Lord knows, I'll eat too. Y'all want an update on my New Year's resolution? It ain't happening today. I'll do it next week. Brian says he's going over in the Green Bay game. Yeah, I mean, that's the best. That's my best bet. All right, we kind of covered the gamut. I probably didn't talk as much about the Pelicans as I would have liked to. It is what it is. We lost Fletcher. His phone died on us, which is okay. We got plenty out of him before he left. Callie, happy Thanksgiving to all. Hope to have a show on Saturday. Oh, we're gonna have a show. One way or the other, we will have a show on Saturday. Unless I just ate too much and I'm sick. That's not going to happen. I got a game Friday night, so that's not going to happen. Real quick before we go off the air, I have given you my the live show update, but I'm going to throw this out there again. We've got, and I'm not ready to tell you who yet. We have our first new sponsor has signed on with us. We will announce who that is next week. But so this show is rolling, baby. I'm telling you, we are going to be in a better shape than we've ever been. I've got one sponsor that has signed on with us, and we're going to get all the information and everything we need, and that will start next week. I have another one that I'm really close with that is supposed to start very soon, and we may have a third new sponsor. So we're trying to figure out what's going on with Evangeline. So we are on the roll. If you have a small business or someone who has a business here around the New Orleans area or whatever it is, and you want to be a sponsor of the show, I'm telling you, now's the time to now's the time to hit me up, because I am going to raise the prices next year. I'm giving introductory prices to be a sponsor, and the prices are good through the end of next year at the bare minimum. If you sign on with me now, I'm going to guarantee these prices through the end of next year, but I am going to raise the prices starting on January 1st. We'll see how that goes. So if you know anyone, you love the show, you're a regular, jump on board, find me, jim@jimderry.com, and there we go. All right. That is going to wrap it up for us on this Wednesday. Look, all you regulars especially, Bart wants to know real quick, I will say, what do I think of the Saints' new kicker? You might have missed what I said earlier. I'm not a fan of Cade York. I'm glad Groupie's going, I guess. At least one of the least of the Saints' worries. I wish they would use Charlie Smith, who's been sitting on the practice squad. That's my thoughts there. We'll talk more about that. Again, as you notice, LSU is just taking kind of hold because LSU is the story right now. Not necessarily like Fletcher said, not the game against Oklahoma, but what's going to happen with Lane Kiffin. We're going to know. Hopefully by the next time we come on the air, we either know or we'll be about to know. But either way, we will have a show Saturday morning. Right now, I'm thinking probably an hour earlier than usual. I'm thinking 10 o'clock. But if it breaks in the morning, if it breaks early, we're going to come on a little bit earlier. So be ready for that. That's why you need to have your notification bell clicked on when we go on the air live. It's usually Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. But click that bell because we may go on the air again Saturday morning. If it happens at 8 a.m., we might go on the air at 8:30. Just kind of depends. We're going to have to see. UBN wants to know if I need anything from Buc-ee's. Yeah, get me a shirt. You got a Thanksgiving shirt? I like to wear holiday shirts from Buc-ee's. My kids want a stuffed beaver. We could all use stuffed beavers to brighten our day. Whatever that means. I really need to go before I get myself in trouble. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say I am everybody talks about what they are thankful for this time of year. And I know I've said this a lot lately, but truly, I have never felt better. I can't say never. It's been a long time since I've been this confident and excited about my future than I am right now. It's true. I kind of felt like, again, no offense to my former employer, but sort of every day was almost the same, right? After a while. And I feel like now I'm kind of in charge of my own destiny. And I'm so glad, I'm thankful for that Gabe's come along for the ride. And all the regulars found me. All the regulars have, I don't think I've lost a single regular in this transition phase. They found us. And they continue to find us, and they continue to show up. And we made a lot of new friends over the course of the past few weeks, and I've just never felt more confident than I do right now. So, Earl, you're right. Think about Patreon. I am going to think about it. I got a lot of things to think about. There are all sorts of new things I want to try. We've been doing really well on Facebook, and our shorts have been doing incredibly well. So I'm definitely going to continue with the instant reactions and those sorts of things as well. So, but that is going to wrap it up for us. I hope everyone has a fantastic, wonderful Thanksgiving. We will see you all. Reminder to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page if you haven't done so already. And don't forget, if you want to just listen to the pod, you can also find us wherever you get your major pod. We're on every major podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, and the like. So everyone, don't eat too much turkey. We don't want you in a tryptophan coma when we come back on Saturday, but we will see you then, probably with some big breaking news. Everyone, take it easy, my friends.